So, if you can imagine, I got kicked out of getting a phlebotomy. A very much therapeutically needed, desperately wanted phlebotomy. Kicked out. It's a story. Gotta listen. So, the other day, Friday, I should say, we went in to get a phlebotomy. It was overdue, much needed. If you know, I have been going on and off my Pegasus due to my liver reacting. And it's not that people don't have reactions with their liver. Mine just has been extra as of late. So, without taking my Pegasus, I am, of course, in need of another phlebotomy. I've skipped it a couple times where I've been at 42, but we just did the best we could and waited another week after an injection. Now I can't do the injection. So I called the doctor's office, apheresis center, and I got the appointment. I actually spoke to the woman that always is there. And I wouldn't say always does it because she has turned us away multiple times. It's almost confirmed this time that she will look for any excuse not to treat me. And it is insane. So it's kind of touchy a little bit of this. We are definitely moving, and it is absolutely because of the absolutely horrific, hellish, nightmarish, bottom of the barrel dog poo health care I have here. It is the worst. And there's some people who are decent, but the majority have been so awful and caused me much, much, much more harm than was even necessary, that this is simply not livable. So we went in super early in the morning, got up, went, and the apheresis opens at 10. We were there at like 9:30. She's like, hey, I'll take you back. I'm like, okay, great. So we go back, and she starts talking about, I don't even know that she's doing fine. And then we talked about blood, and I said, hey, last time they needed more than just the CBC. The orders distinctly call for the health one and the CBC. And she's like, well, I didn't see that, and I can't guarantee it's covered by your insurance in this office. You'd have to go to a different lab to make sure it's covered. And I'm like, oh my God, it's on the orders, right? And she went on about how she may not even be covered and she doesn't know. We'll have to figure it out, but she's only doing a CBC. So I'm like, okay. Mind you, I know going in, she will look for any reason not to do it. I mean, any reason. I was surprised she even took my appointment. It's been ridiculous. Reminding you that I have been kicked out of another lab, and it's not because I am anything difficult. It is my veins. They're difficult. It's who's willing to work and who's not, and there's a vast difference. And I'm just really horrifyingly disappointed in this medical field here. In general, they're pretty good people. So anyway, we go. She's trying to find her excuse, and I said, you need to do the whole thing with the CBC, and the other one, we've got to follow the orders. And sometimes she'll say, oh, it's just under. Once I was 42 when I took my lab, went in there, it went down to 41.4. She's like, nope, I won't treat you today. You got to go home. So although I have had phlebotomies at a different level, she refused to because it's extremely convenient, and that's the MO there. So, as she's looking for excuses, we're talking about medication. I said, the medication I do have gives me side effects that are like flu-like side effects. I said, but I'm not sick. Now, mind you, I'm in Montgomery County. It is the main hub spot, I guess, in Pennsylvania for the coronavirus. I understand that. And I said, I'm not surprised if I get it. I mean, I don't know that anyone would be surprised if we get it. It is very common. A lot of people are getting it. It's to what degree and to what. We're trying not to give it to anyone. Nobody wants to give it to anyone or get it. It's just, are we going to be that surprised, right? So then she asked me, do you have any flu-like symptoms? And I said, well, I do. After I take my Interferon Pegasus injections, I always get flu-like symptoms, but I'm used to this. It is what happens, and it is a side effect to my medicine, but I don't think it's anything different, right? So then she's like, oh, you have it, and she's like, you're here, I can't believe it. And I'm like, no, it's a side effect, and you have me come in. So then she said, well, let me take your temperature. It was 98.7. I remember it because it was a radio station in Utah. So she takes it. I don't have a fever. And then she's like, well, don't touch anything. I'm going to go talk to my manager. So I'm in there like, what the hell? Like, I don't have anything. We've already discussed it. I need a phlebotomy. Like, I am in utter hell pain right now. Any showers, all of that is just exacerbated at this point, and I'm just trying to function. Well, she goes out there, talks to someone, then she comes back in and throws the needles, and she's like, you're putting other people in danger, and this, and I'm like, I don't have the symptoms. You asked about flu. I told you about my medicine side effect. And she's like, why are you on this medicine? I said, it's off-label for the polycythemia Vera, the reason I'm in here getting a phlebotomy. Like, what the hell? So mind you, this needle throw and fit were very fast in all of this commotion, and then it was a chuck, and then she was pretty much out the door again. And I'm like, what in the world? And she's like, I'm going to talk to my manager. I'm like, okay, like this twice, right? And huff, puff, get out. What are you doing? Just because you hate your job and you hate helping me, it's not my issue. Just do your damn job. So then she comes in and she says, I'm not gonna treat you today. You have to go. You have to leave here. You're putting other people in danger. I said, but I don't have symptoms. And she looked at me and she said, even you can be asymptomatic and have it. And I'm like, okay, that's true. So here is what really, really gets me, because it continues. If I'm asymptomatic, anyone who doesn't have it is asymptomatic because they don't have it. There's no symptoms, right? So she either believes I have it and doesn't want to treat me for that, or I'm asymptomatic with it and doesn't want to treat me with it, or I'm asymptomatic because I don't have it. But either way, you made the appointment, you had me come in. I'm in there to get therapy because I feel like dog shit. Help me. Like, don't treat me like this. This is misery anyway. I hate going to this place. My family is moving because you guys are so awful. Why? So then I go out to my husband. He's waiting out in the waiting room. And I'm like, she booted me. She won't help me. And they're all of the doctors as I walk out, evil eye. Number one, it sucked. I can kind of see their perspective, because if I had the belief that someone went in there willingly, I would be pissed at them too. But they have no idea, like, how ridiculous this is. Like, what the hell? Asymptomatic, no symptoms. What the hell? I'm so over it, and I've always been decent about this place, but I'm like so at the losing it point. Like, what a ridiculous bullshit. So as I'm like paraded on out and evil-eyed by everyone, which half and half understand, I go out there, and my husband, he's there. He's like, yeah, she told him that you were sick. And I'm like, what? And he said, I told her the only reason she's sick is you're not treating her. So I don't blame the other doctors. I absolutely blame, what the hell is she doing? Now, I called and she's like, call your PCP, call the disease control and something else. And I'm like, what? I'm like, can you at least test me? We can't test you here. I'm like, I'm in a hospital. I'm in the biggest hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Guess, right? Like, what? So, like Schrodinger's cat in this one, I either have it or I don't, or I do and I don't at the same time, but you're not willing to do the test because of whatever belief. Either way. So as she's booting me out, saying I'm sick to these other people, I'm telling my husband he's got to hurry. He took his time out, went over there, helped me out. Another lady, I should say, comes over and says, you guys need to leave the waiting room because people are going to come in. There's no one here now, but we're not going to risk it with you being sick. And I'm looking at her like, what does she mean? Does she mean like the PV, or like what happened? This is before I knew that the lady, the one that's supposed to treat me, had gone out and said I was sick. Like, that's bullshit. So again, I go out and I'm like, honey, we gotta go. He had to wrap up some work. We go out into the hall and I'm like stuck. Like, what am I gonna do? I mean, I'm already overdue for therapy. So I call my doctor and I said, hey, they're not going to give me a phlebotomy here. Like, they're choosing not to because of this. And she's like, well, do you have a fever? I'm like, no. Do you have a runny nose? No. I mean, I clean my nose. everything I explained. She's like, then you probably don't have it. I'm like, probably not. But I'm getting kicked out. So after being so not gently kicked out, my other doctor said, let me call someone else. We'll figure this out. So she gets on the phone and she says, hey, or they called me back a little bit after and they said, hey, how about you make an appointment for next week? Not in hell, by the way. I am so effing sick of these people. I'm going to look anywhere else. Like, we're desperate. We need to get out of here. No. What? Trust. Ugh. Anyway, so she said, make an appointment. I'm like, no, thank you. I'll figure it out. And she said, okay, we'll do your blood numbers next week. See where you're at. And I said, well, can I at least take my medicine? And she said, we can't until you see what your blood numbers are at. So we will find out this week what my levels are at. If I can take the medicine, that would desperately help me. So maybe I could avoid a phlebotomy, but it might hurt my liver even worse. So crappy spot to be. I am grossed out that someone used the coronavirus as an excuse not to treat someone. I don't blame the other doctors for being pissed because of what information they had. I get it, but I obviously didn't have it. Here's the kicker. As we're leaving, and I'm definitely not making another appointment, I've got to call around and see if there's anyone else who can help me because we want to move. We can't put our house on the market in this condition. All the sorts of things, right? It's just like a big old cluster. In 1 year from now, we will look back at this as like, oh my gosh, what a time, right? But in the meantime, it kind of sucks. So the thing is I'm going to do what I can, do the very best. The kicker is, after this hospital visit, both me and my husband have been tired, sniffly, and not feeling super great. But who knows? You know, this sounds really awful, and I don't mean it to be that way, but if we get it, you know, God help us all. Hopefully we can all be healing and healthy and do the best we can. But if there's 0 tests and they're refusing to test, I did talk to my other doctor. She said that the only way that they would actually give me a test is if I was inpatient, not outpatient. They weren't going to give me the test. And I said, and this is before, there was so much said, oh my gosh. Anyway, I said, well, can I get the stinking test to clear it so I can get a phlebotomy next week, when she was asking me to make that appointment. And she's like, no, we just can't give out those tests. I'm like, I understand that, but if this lady is believing I have it and also not believing, whatever, then maybe I should get tested and then we can proceed, because I have other things I have to take care of. And I've been staying away from people. I have PV. I have a crap immune system at times. I get it. I do stay away from people. My son, my husband, and I, and my mom have all been here locked down by ourselves before the big quarantine. Like, we're trying.